Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. We have a return visitor today. This is a 1975 very rare Brazilian Rosewood top Les Paul custom. Now, this was the very first Brazilian Rosewood custom I owned, and I sold it to a good buddy of mine who just so happened to find his absolute dream car, and the only way to get enough funds was to sell the two guitars he had purchased from me back to me. So I have ever-evolving standards of what my show should be, so I thought I would re-review these two guitars. Those two guitars are the Brazilian Rosewood Custom and the First Run Super Custom. So the Brazilian Rosewood Les Paul Custom. These were made in 1975 only, and they're pretty much your standard Les Paul custom from the early 70s. The only difference being, well, the Brazilian Rosewood top. So that means you have a pancake constructed mahogany body, which is a mahogany-maple-mahogany sandwich, and you have a mahogany neck with ebony fretboard. Now, there are a few of these guitars out there that have maple necks, because 75 is kind of that transition year. I don't remember the exact number, however, it is believed there were 50 to 62 of these guitars made. So while yes, the maple neck version is more rare, I'm not necessarily sure if it is more desirable, because 50 specs are usually more looked towards, and that's what a mahogany neck is in this case. So maybe to a collector who wants one of everything, the maple neck would be more desirable. That's the one I'm looking for next. Since I've had two mahogany necks, I've got to have at least one maple someday. So a Brazilian Rosewood top. Let's talk about why this is so significant. Gibson stopped using Brazilian Rosewood in the late 1960s due to conservationist efforts. It basically became illegal to import new Brazilian Rosewood into the country. Now, if somebody tries to tell you that their Golden Era Les Paul has a Brazilian Rosewood fretboard, I don't necessarily believe it. There's not a single model that comes to my mind that has that. The only Brazilian Rosewood Golden Era Gibsons are the Les Paul Customs, like this one, and the Crest guitar. Now, the Gold Crest is a very interesting guitar. I would also love to check one of those out one day. But this isn't just a thin veneer of Brazilian Rosewood. This is a full 1-inch slab of Brazilian Rosewood. Now, Brazilian Rosewood can sometimes have some red in it. This one is more uniform in color, and I nicknamed this one the Yeti, simply because there's like a little Yeti figure right here in the wood grain, and I love it when guitars have little identifying features like that. This particular one is a 3-piece Brazilian Rosewood top. You can see the one seam line right here, where it doesn't blend in too well there, but for the rest of the wood it does. And then the other one is right here. This guitar comes stock with T-top pickups and an ABR1 bridge with tailpiece and all gold hardware. Now, one last fun story about this guitar is it was signed by Les Paul. I don't have any documentation of that or photos of him signing it, but that's what Les Paul liked to do when he signed a guitar. He'd be like, hey, hand me that chisel over there. Let me engrave your guitar with my name, not just sign it. So it's there, it's not too deep in the wood, but it's definitely interesting now that Les isn't with us anymore. I don't necessarily say that makes this guitar more valuable, but it's just kind of an interesting story behind this one. So do I suggest all players to go out and buy one of these Brazilian Rosewood Customs if and ever you do find one? No, not exactly. These are kind of collector's instruments. They're definitely not $5,000 to $7,000 better guitars than an early 70s custom, but if you want a really rare guitar that looks amazing, these things are just gorgeous, that's when you can justify paying a huge premium for these guitars. I'm a huge fan of these Brazilian Rosewood Customs, but let's let your ears decide and hear how this guitar sounds. know how this guitar sounds, let's go ahead and view its condition. Now this is probably one of the cleaner Brazilian Rosewood customs out there. If you want to see a completely trashed one, make sure you check out that other video that I did on my clairvoyant purchase. But this one, you've got some light string change wear on the face of the headstock, but nothing too major. There is a little bit of edge wear right here where it looks like maybe the tuner has been bumping up against the body or something. But for the most part, the edges are also in clean shape. This guitar is all stock, including the bone nut. The ebony fretboard is in great shape, and you just have very minor fret wear on this example. The only very small thing to go over on this example is some of the lacquer on the binding has kind of been worn off, or maybe it's a factory defect. This is what's always boggled my mind about this guitar, because it wasn't played a lot, but it feels like the lacquer was worn off. But it's just in that small area, and then the rest of it is this uniformed yellowed color, and the other side is also the color we'd be looking for. The face of the guitar is in great shape. You've just got some normal polishing scratches and swirls. This really is a beautiful edition of a Brazilian Rosewood custom. Again, no two of these are alike. If you like a uniformed top, this is definitely the one for you. And again, our little Yeti friend right there. It's just a fantastic example. This is definitely one I would keep for my museum if I was currently collecting for that. The gold is in great shape. You've got some very light tarnishing and wear to it, but nothing too incredibly bad on this example. Now, before I first bought this guitar, it had been in a private collector's collection, and he initially bought it from George Gruen. So this one has been for sale by Gruen's Guitars many years ago. Back of the headstock, our serial number is 377157, made in USA, and signed by Les Paul once again. You have the most beautiful tuners ever, the Kluson waffle backs. However, as far as functionality, they're not my favorite. They're not always the tightest tuners in the world. You've got a small volute and a 60s neck profile on this guitar. And again, besides the weird lacquer wear right here, the neck is fairly clean with just mild wear and tear. The back side of the guitar isn't chewed up by buckle rash or anything, it's just very clean. I mean, this one almost classifies as too clean to want to play, but this is a perfect collector's piece with just very minimal scratches and nicks and dings. This guitar is all original. You can see nothing has ever been touched in the control cavity. It's all ridden with dust and everything, but it's all stock. I wish they would have went with the thin binding in the cutaway. That way you could see the Brazilian Rosewood top once again, but unfortunately they did not. You still have your original strap buttons on here, and the sides are also in excellent shape. We'll do a blacklight test here. Now the thing to remember with Brazilian Rosewood is it kind of absorbs the lacquer in a different way, so it doesn't glow 100% evenly. You can see where it kind of absorbs in other areas more than others. These are not finished touch-ups or anything though, so don't worry about that. Here's another area where you also see that. It's not a crack or anything, so don't worry. The sides of the guitar are also in good shape. No finished touch-ups here. A nice even glow. And the back is also looking good, as is the neck and the headstock here. And once again, you can see Les Paul's signature on this guitar. So it definitely passes the blacklight test with flying colors. This guitar still retains its original Gibson case. This is the version that doesn't have Gibson on the outside, but rest assured it is a Gibson case. All of the latches are currently functioning, as is the handle, and it's in ridiculously clean shape. Very minor wear and tear at all. And the inside is this beautiful dark purple. It's a very royal looking case. This color really pops just about any finish, especially natural finishes. This is also probably one of the most complete Brazilian customs, as you still even have the warranty card for it, the original strap, original cord, and other sales slips for this guitar. It's pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to buying one of these. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this 1975 very rare Brazilian Rosewood top Les Paul custom, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Troglys. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.